Okay, hi, this is Vic, and as I do with most of my presentations, I start off with my stock photograph of my 2014 Cadillac ELR. On this presentation, I'm going to compare driving a Cadillac ELR or a Chevrolet Volt I'm going to compare those two with driving a standard gasoline-powered vehicle. And, oh, excuse me. And there's one thing that my Cadillac ELR has in common with my lawnmower. And it's not a wrench, it's not a screwdriver, it's not a tool of any sort. It is actually this gas can. The normal way, most of the time when I go to the gas station, I do not pump gasoline directly into my ELR. I pump it into this gas can instead. It's a 2-gallon gas can, and typically I pump gas into this can. And then when I go home, I will take this can and pour gasoline into my ELR. Then I will pour some of the gasoline into the lawnmower if it's a summer month. If it's a summer month and I need to mow my lawn within the next week or two, then I will pour some gas into the lawnmower. If it's winter, then the lawnmower will not get any gasoline. And during the summertime, speaking of that, during the summertime, my lawnmower normally uses more gasoline per month than my Cadillac ELR. And it's not because I don't drive my ELR, because I do drive my ELR. I like to drive it. Sometimes I drive for fun. And here's a slide showing the most recent screenshot of my lifetime miles per gallon. My lifetime on the lower right-hand side of the screen is 95.7 miles per gallon. I'm not at 100 yet, or I'm not over 100 yet, because periodically once I seem to approach 100, then it's about that time, coincidentally, when I go visit family and relatives out of state. And I typically drive. And I have to rely on gasoline for too much of that driving, in my opinion. And I typically am not able to plug in my car like I like to. See, when I'm at home, I can plug my car in whenever I feel like it. That's why my lifetime is approaching 100. I barely use any gasoline typically. Now, the reason I use gasoline on this short trip of 29.8 total miles, the reason that my MPG average for this trip is so low at 115, yes, that is low for me, is because for a portion of that trip, I started the engine in hold mode immediately because it was cold outside. I wanted to use the heat from the exhaust of the engine to help generate some heat more quickly. And I was able to do so. But as long as I'm above 100 for any distance, I'm okay with that. Now, here's a gasoline-powered vehicle. And it happens to be a BMW. I'm not picking on BMW, I'm just using this as an example of a typical gasoline-powered vehicle. And it's showing, in this particular case, their best guesstimate is 24 miles per gallon on the highway and 18 miles per gallon in the city for a combined MPG rating of 20. I was like, oh my God, that would suck. It's just, I would be visualizing like a gas pump running if I had to drive something like this every day. Because whether you're moving or not, it's still sucking gas. There's still gas being sucked out of your tank and blowing smoke into the atmosphere. And it's like a pump constantly running. It's constantly pumping gas. Even if you're standing still, you're not moving. If you're stuck in traffic, it's still pumping gas. Doesn't matter what's going on, what your speed is. And it's not just the cost of the gasoline, but it's also the other parts that have to be maintained in the gasoline engine or associated with the gasoline engine, and that is the pistons, the piston rings. There's O-rings inside the engine. There's spark plugs that have to be maintained. There's engine oil. There's cooling fluid that has to be maintained to keep the engine cool for the radiator. And there's oil filter, and that's all going to suck money out of your pocket. It's not just the cost of gas. No matter how many hours you spend driving your gasoline-powered vehicle, your car is always sucking money out of your pocket. I'm envisioning right now, like pumping gas. When you pump gas at a gas station, you see the meter running, and it's all, as long as the gas is pumping, the meter is always running. It's just like driving a gasoline-powered vehicle. As long as your engine is running, it's that meter is always running. It's pumping gas, just like when you pump at a gas station. Meanwhile, if you look at my miles per gallon on my 2014 Cadillac ELR, my lifetime MPG is 95.7. It's close to 100, and that saves a hell of a lot of money just in gasoline. Now, if I'm not running, or if I'm not moving, if I'm at a standstill, the only thing that I'm running at the time normally is electricity is flowing through the motor that drives the wheels. Just electricity is flowing, and that's it. Just less electricity, not a whole lot of electricity. There's less electricity flowing. Still using some electricity, but basically I'm just using electricity that I need to use to get the job done for whatever speed I'm going at. I'm not pumping gas. Now, speaking of that, I want to add the fact that the extended range electric vehicles and any straight electric vehicles, for that matter, all have regenerative braking. That is, when I take my foot off of the gas pedal, I don't have to put my foot on the brake in order to slightly adjust my speed. If I just take my foot off of the accelerator pedal, then what happens is the circuitry and the computer in the car use the inertia of the moving vehicle to feed power back into the power supply or back into the battery. And a gasoline vehicle just cannot do that. It cannot feed power back into its supply. All it can do is just continue to suck gas. Okay, granted, it sucks a little less, but it's still sucking gas out of your pocket. And in addition, that saves on the amount of times I have to use my brake. So I'm saving on wear and tear on my brake pedals. And that in effect is saving some money as well. And speaking of saving money, the Chevrolet Volt, the 2018 Chevrolet Volt, my understanding is that it is rated at 53 miles on one full charge. My 2014 ELR, if I remember correctly, was rated at 36 miles on one full charge. I have not gotten 36 miles on one charge since I've owned my car. Well, every once in a while I will get 36 miles on one charge. Most of the time I get either 38 or between 38 to 40 miles on one full charge. It's usually more than 36. Like I said, it's typically anywhere between 38 and 40. Depending upon, I think it depends on my driving style and my average speed. But that's going to affect you. That's going to affect your efficiency no matter what kind of car you drive, whether it's electric or gasoline powered. Now, the Chevrolet Volt, speaking of that, that reminds me, the Chevrolet Volt, I would love to, the more I think about the 2018 Chevrolet Volt, the more I think I want to get my hands on one and check them out. Because my understanding is the performance, the 0 to 60 acceleration has greatly improved, and it's rated at 53 miles for one full charge of electricity. And if that's the case, the lifetime MPG, if I was driving a Chevrolet Volt that was rated at 53 miles for one full charge, my lifetime MPG would be well over 100. There's no doubt in my mind my lifetime MPG would be well over 100. Hi, this is Vic, and I'm praying, I'm truly hoping that I can start some type of movement here. And that is fight like a Spartan. Men, there is an alternative to surgery. If you are confirmed to have prostate cancer, you do not have to have surgery. 10 years ago, in 2007, after 2 doctors recommended surgery for me, I searched and searched for an alternative, and I went to the website that you're looking at right now, CyberKnife.com, to find an alternative to surgery. And only after talking to the doctor in the hospital that worked with the CyberKnife did I decide to go through the CyberKnife treatment. I put off surgery as long as I possibly could, and I spoke with the doctor that actually worked in the hospital that had the CyberKnife facility, and he did a test, and he confirmed, and what he told me was the CyberKnife was a good treatment for me, that he could treat me with the CyberKnife. So I chose the CyberKnife. I found a hospital. Well, first of all, if you go to CyberKnife.com, they have a search feature in there where you can search, you can tell the search engine how far to look. It can go from, you can select 5 miles or 250 miles away from your zip code. Like you tell it to search in the US and then you type in your zip code and you can tell it to go as far as 250 miles or whatever. And as it turned out, there was a hospital that has a CyberKnife facility 20 miles away from me. My treatment went like this. I got up early to go to work and left enough time to lay down in the bed. My treatment plan was for 45 minutes. Yours could be different. Mine was for 45 minutes. So I had to lay still for 45 minutes, completely dressed, no surgery, no cutting, and while this machine rotated around me. And when they told me they were finished, and it generally took about 45 minutes, when they told me they were finished, I would get up and they said, okay, you can leave now. And that was it. I got back into my car and I drove to work. I worked, that's right, I worked and did anything and everything that I wanted to do. There was no limitations placed on me. And that's my push for the CyberKnife. Men, we have a tool to kill and defeat prostate cancer. Fight like a Spartan. No surrender, no retreat.